All right. I think usually this was announced like a fireside chat. Unfortunately, my partner in crime from OneFootball fell ill, so you'll just have to do with me talking to myself. But hopefully we can go into some interesting stuff about blockchain gaming, and especially how we at Mythical are building blockchain gaming at scale. It's really a lot of learnings from what we did in the past couple of years with a title called NFL Rivals that you might know already, but also seeing what we have coming and what we just released a couple of months ago. So looking at the mantra for Web3 gaming, it's sort of changing now. It's not like there's no longer sort of like bridging the gap. It's no longer about onboarding the next billion users. It's happening now. It's not happening in 2 years, it's not happening in 3 years, it's happening now. And it's happening with real gamers, real users for blockchain technology. And that's really sort of where we're seeing with the Web3 economies, that you really have the possibility to onboarding millions of players to blockchain through the games they actually love. So what are we working on, and sort of what are the space we're working in? So what we're looking for is sort of what are the next transitions in gaming. What we've been working on for the past couple of years is really sort of like the first one here that you have of tradable assets and ownership. This is sort of where sort of the first level of Web3 with NFT game items that you can trade them, you have fully ownership of it, and it's fully something that you actually control. But what we see, where we're moving to, is the social interaction of like you can play the game, but it's actually more fun if I play the game with friends. So how can I actually do that, and how can we see Web3 actually enabling that in a big way? And I think the next thing we see in sort of like a couple of years is cloud gaming. How do we distribute games outside of the normal channels that we see today? How can we end up with a game that if you are looking at TV or if you're listening to music, you're streaming everything. But a game, you still have to sort of download a lot of megabytes, and you have it on and you have to wait for that. Couldn't it be fun of just having something of like, hey, I just log on to my gaming app, and I jump from game to game and play with the friends that I have. So that's really sort of where we are seeing the gaming industry transitioning, and we at Mythical wants to be at the forefront of that. So this is sort of what gamers expect. It's sort of like, what do? I have some assets, and I want different assets. That's really sort of how gamers think. It's sort of like, hey, if I'm playing FIFA Rivals, it's sort of like, hey, I have these 5 or 10 players, but I actually want Messi. How do I sort of trade these things? What Web3 delivers today is sort of this like bits and asks and floor prices and all kinds of things, and very much sort of like a financial way of showing the trading game. But gamers doesn't really want that. So how do we get off of the sort of like everything has to be a financial transaction, and how can it be gamers just trading with gamers? So that's really where we're looking for when we're building our marketplace and our marketplace tech for Mythical. So really, you build it for the consumer, you build it for the gamer, and you don't show them the entire sort of like blockchain tech layer, but everything is still settled on the chain. Every single transaction that people are doing on our marketplace is settled directly on the Mythos chain. You can actually go in if you want to see it. We have a ticker on the marketplace as well, so you can go in and actually see the underlying transaction for each and every trade that happens on the marketplace. The games that we have here, so this is sort of like some of the games that we already issued, and also some of the games that are coming. So some of you that's been in the gaming space for some years might know Blankos Block Party, and the ones of you who are into American football might know NFL Rivals. It's been out for a couple of years, and then we have our new titles, FIFA Rivals that was out a month ago, and Pudgy Party that's out in certain locations, but it's out globally sort of when we come to the end of summer. If we look at NFL Rival first. So right now we have like, I think it's a 6.4, I think actually it's slightly higher. We're going towards 7 million downloads of NFL Rivals. We really have a long track record of that. It goes into our third season that will come out in the middle of August. What is really interesting here is like, obviously NFL Rivals is the new game. The older game that's on NFL is Madden. So comparing NFL Rivals with Madden currently on iOS and on Google Play, we actually have a higher rating for NFL Rivals than what we have for Madden. Currently, we only have 25% of the users that are in Madden, but there's time to grow and there's room to grow. So for us, that's a great start. So what are we really doing, and what is sort of like that we really see changing the way that gamers are interacting? And now we're using NFL players, but it could be football players, it could be the costumes and so on that you'll see in Putty Party as well. It's what we call quick trades. And this is really sort of where we go away from this floor prices, financial transactions, but basically saying, hey, this is what I have and this is what I want. So what I do is like I take what I have and say, hey, I have these 5 players. I don't want these 5 players anymore, but I actually do want another player. So what I do, and I can do that directly in my gaming app on the phone, or I can do it on the marketplace of basically saying, I have these 5 players, I want to get rid of those, and I want to buy this Messi or Mahomes or whoever I want, depending on which game I'm playing. So what I do is I just click off these 5 players that I want to get rid of, this one I want to buy, and the marketplace is actually matching that and executing all those trades in one atomic transaction. So settling it with all the different buyers of the 5 items you want to sell, and settling the cost with the seller of the items that you want to buy. So really sort of like taking away all the complexity for the gamer, but actually utilizing the Web3 technology to actually make it very seamless and a completely you could say non-Web3 experience, but it just happens for the gamer and they actually get the items that they want. Putty Party. Now, it's like usually when we are talking about mythical, it sort of depends on the audience. If it's sort of like how much are you into Web3? So I'm sure now we're at Web3 Summit, so I'm sure that a lot of you knows Putty. So this is really something that we're actually looking forward to. Of how do we come up with a game for an IP that also crypto loves and the Web3 community loves? And this is what we have with Putty Party. So what's interesting with Putty Party, and some of you might actually have been playing it already. It's out in soft launch in certain countries. So what we're looking for is actually how do we actually make a Web3 version of a game that works a lot better and works a lot more interactive with the players. So if we're looking at the incumbent for Putty Party, there was a game 5 years ago called Stumble Guys. They have over 400 million players. And this is really where we start talking about scale. So how do we actually get a Web3 game of having 400 million players in a Web3 game? I think if we're looking at the NFL Rivals is probably the biggest in terms of number of downloads Web3 game that is out there today. But actually, how do we actually take that to the next level? And this is really where we're seeing that there's a huge potential of what we have with Putty. And this is really sort of like much more of like a party game. It's sort of like where you can actually socially interact with with everybody you're talking about. And what is really important here as well is the tournament angle. Like, it's fun to play a game, but it's fun to play with others, and it's fun to play when there's something at stake. And that's actually sort of like one of the things that we see as well, of like how can you actually put the tournament angle, the challenging angle in, and crypto Web3 technology is really great for that as well. Of like how can you actually have players arranging their own tournaments, settling directly on chain, and just having fun together. And then we have the big one, FIFA Rivals. It says coming soon, 2025. It's already here. It's been here for a month so far, and it's really sort of like the next iteration of what a FIFA and a football game can actually be. I'm not sure if I dare to say real football, but I'm not sure how many Americans are in here. But FIFA Rival. FIFA Rivals is mobile first. I think that's compared to what the old FIFA game was, very much a console game that moved to mobile. We really looked at what are actually the opportunities to build for mobile first. what are the possibilities you can do on mobile? How can you make football more engaging with not only the very sort of like football interested gamer, but also like more of the casual gamer? How do you make it more fast paced? How do you make it more fun? And that's really what we're looking for with Rivals. If you've been playing NFL Rivals, you have seen sort of the arcade element of it. When we're looking at FIFA Rivals, we sort of took it a notch up and make it much more fun and interactive. So it's still football that you know and love. It's still the players that you know and love, but they can do other things. So there are certain super abilities that sort of gives additional elements to the game so that you can have more fun, and you can also do much quicker gameplay. So FIFA Rivals is not about sort of like replicating a football game as such. It's like, how do you look at actually creating something that's a fun experience on the phone, playing football, but also utilizing the possibilities you have of doing a great game. Yeah, there's a lot of nice pictures here from what FIFA Rivals actually is. So why are we excited about Web3 and FIFA? So EAFC, or EA FIFA Mobile, before they split up with FIFA, they had more daily players in a World Cup year than what is on Roblox or Fortnite. So this is not like a few millions of players. This is like, 500 million players worldwide, if you look at it. Obviously not playing at the same time, but like then you have 10, 20 million players actually playing at the same time in a World Cup year. So this is all of a sudden like a massive scale, and how do you actually solve that from a Web3 element? If we look at FIFA Rivals, I think we're set for actually today to reach 1 million players in FIFA. And if we're looking at it says here we have 2 million matches in the first week. What I actually just got the numbers now. We are roughly 5 million matches now for the first months of FIFA. So we really see a lot of people that are extremely engaged in this game and really playing it religiously and utilizing also the Web3 elements. But I'll also bet you that probably 95% of the gamers is playing the game and not necessarily knowing there's blockchain underneath. And that's actually the way we want to do it. It's like, you don't have to sort of like put the whole of like, hey, I'm playing a Web3 game, the first thing I have to do is like connect my wallet. And it's like, if I don't have a wallet, then it's like, hey, please give me your 12 words, and if you get them, then you're lost completely. It's like, you don't want to scare the gamers away. So that's actually how we are building the games, of like, how do we abstract away that layer, but actually still give people the essence of Web3, give them ownership, give them a wallet, they can see it, everything is on chain. So we're utilizing the Web3 tech, but if you don't want to engage with the Web3 tech, with like your own self-custody wallet and so on, you don't have to. And that's sort of really where you can get the masses in. One of the things we talked about was the quick trades, which really allows us to engage a much higher percentage of the players. And not only in like the usual countries where you see where you see gaming, but also if you go to what we in gaming usually call like low monetization countries. So you go to Africa, Southeast Asia, South America, where it's more difficult to get people to actually pay for game items. But people will still play, and they will still trade items. And this is really what we can do with what we have on the chain, of making sure that people can have fun, they can play the game, they can trade their items, and that's the way we as a company can actually monetize those players without actually having them to come up with a credit card or anything like that. So it's really sort of like building that economic engine into being a part of the gameplay that really is driving it. One of the things we're looking at as well is AI agents. We also we have, for those of you who are playing CS2 or are into the skins trading setup as well, we do have a platform called dmarket, where you're buying and selling skins for more like, let's call it Web2 games. What we've seen is actually AI agents are taking over. A lot of people are programming AI agents to figure out how do they buy and sell and how to get the assets that they want. So we're looking at that of like, how can we actually take that and put that into the games like FIFA Rivals, NFL Rivals, and PUBG Party. And especially like looking at FIFA, it's like everybody knows football agents. Couldn't you have an AI football agent and figure out of like, hey, right now I have a really bad team. I just started. My players are not worth that much. But I want to buy Messi for my teams. And it's sort of like, yeah, but Messi is like, I think last time I looked was like $4,000 if I want to buy him on the marketplace. And sort of like, yeah, but you have really bad players. You can't actually sell those ones and buy Messi for $4,000. But maybe you can trade the players that you have to get something else and actually up your team that way, and then actually build up a career and get to be able to buy Messi for your team. That's really what we're sort of looking at. How can AI actually help on that, and how can it help figuring out what are the best players to buy and sell on the marketplace? So, scaling and consumer growth. Like this is sort of like what we're looking at. I think actually this is fairly conservative, but what we're looking at for FIFA rivals, for NFL, and for PUBG, we're looking at if we come to this time next year, we'll probably be at 70 million. I think we can probably drive that all the way up to probably 100 million players when we get to the World Cup next year. And what we have and the tech that we have is something that's not only available for our own games, but it's also available for third-party games. So anyone else that is wanting a Web3 economy in their game can actually integrate that. So the next real challenges is sort of engagement. And the landscape is very fragmented right now. So if I'm playing, there's sort of like, okay, then I can go to the social, I can go to X, I can go to TikTok. I want to go to marketplaces, sort of like a Steam or Epic Games or anything like that. I go to streaming, which is YouTube or Twitch. And then I want to go to tournaments, which is a whole fourth level of engagement. And all these ones is very fragmented. It's sort of like, why, if I want to talk to the people that I'm playing with in the game, why do I need to go to Discord to do that? Why can't I just like talk to them seamlessly? How can't I just trade directly with the people that I'm playing with in the game? So we thought a bit about that and sort of like, how can we actually do that with what we have for Web3 already? And really seeing like what are the possibilities there. So we're working on this. I think we call it like it's a wallet / social app / tournament access called Pulse. It's actually not something we have announced yet, but it's really something where we can see if like how can you actually take the experience that you have in the game, talking to whoever you are in a group with playing in the game, and how can you take that out, and then I can also chat with that group while I'm out of the game. Or maybe I'm playing both NFL and I'm playing FIFA. How do I match that together? And I want to interact with them. I might want to interact with other gamers, and I might actually want to sell my items across games. So this is really what we are seeing for Pulse, of how we make a cohesive access to all the different parts and all the different games that you're playing. So watch the space for this one. There will be much more news on that one very, very soon. So since we are Web3 Summit, let's talk a bit about sort of like Web3 numbers, and everybody likes numbers in some way or form. I think sometimes it's sort of like we're looking a bit at Mythos or chain, and sort of like, this is probably like the biggest chain out there that no one ever heard about. A lot of people here are in Polkadot, so probably there's a bigger chance that you heard about Mythos before. But really looking at the numbers, it's like Mythos is probably the biggest gaming chain out there. Like if we're looking at this, these are numbers from CryptoSlam, and if we're looking at the numbers, we're always somewhere in top 5 of the biggest chains. But what is really important and interesting to look at is if you look at transaction, so the middle column. If you look at the transactions, on this one we have 115,000 transactions, which is actually almost as much as if you add all the other ones together. So of course, Ethereum, they have a lot of big NFT collections. Also, that's the same thing for Bitcoin as well. If you look at for the gaming chains, you have Immutable, you have Solana. But if you really look at like how many transactions and how many buyers do you have, like no one come close to what we're doing on Mythos. And that all comes from the games. So it's really driven by gamers that want to play a game. It's not driven by people that want to trade NFTs. It's really about having fun playing the game. And of course, there is some kind of monetary element to it in the end. But the primary objective is have fun and do gaming. This one is actually fun. transaction volume. So this transaction volume we've done on Mythos Chain since the summer of last year. The reason why there's nothing before that was before we actually moved to Polkadot. But if you really see sort of like the graph of active wallets, this is really sort of where we're starting to see what happens when you start up with sort of like a global brand like FIFA. And this is really what we are seeing has happened now in the last week, is that the FIFA players are really starting to come in, utilizing the trading opportunities and activating their wallets. So we're really seeing this going up. I think right now we're like about 7.2 million or something in total of wallets on the Mythos chain. But if we get to 100 million gamers with FIFA and with PUBG, we see 100 million active wallets of people playing. And I don't think there's that many chains out there that can actually come and say that this is sort of like a goal that's realizable and realistic within a short time frame. So how do we deal with that from sort of like tokenomics and all these kinds of things, and talk to a lot of people about this of like, how do we do this the right way? And really what we are seeing is sort of like gas fees is one thing. So what we are doing and what we changed on Mythos is that we started to actually implement the burn of gas fees. So it's really actually a good way of looking at how much is the activity, but also of like how do you actually make sure that you have a value accrual on chain for the holders of it. So we're burning roughly 50,000 myth on a daily basis, basically just by having gamers game. They don't necessarily like know they are interacting with it, but they are actually utilizing gas, and they are trading and having fun in the game. So that goes into actually having a chain that's actually fully deflationary as it is right now. So we are roughly right now looking at, with the current volume, we are probably deflationary by 1 to 1.5%. But with the full volume of FIFA and PUBG, then we're looking at probably a deflationary chain of like 5 to 7% just in burning gas fees every year. So it's really sort of like, hey, consumers are really driving the adoption, and consumers are driving the value on chain. And that's sort of like how we're looking at, if we're looking at the Mythos tokenomics flywheel, is like we have the game launchers, we have our own games, FIFA rivals, NFL rivals, PUBG Party, but we're also looking at third-party games. And third-party games will also drive more value and more users on Mythos chain and on Polkadot. What happens is that most of the gamers will then not necessarily go out and buy Myth directly, but they will put in a credit card. I want to buy some items. I put in my credit card. What happens underneath is that we actually live buy Myth for the player. They interact. They do the buy and sell on the marketplace, and they might want to cash out again, and they get actually fiat out. But all the transactions underneath is actually real buys and sells and transactions on the chain. So that drives the increase of gas fees. It's the Myth supply actually goes down, and then obviously for any holder of the token, they hold the token already, you can get quite a juicy staking reward of I think around 30% or something as it is right now, because not that many people are doing it yet, but so it's probably going down to probably around 15 over time. But it's really driven by gamers. And I think that's really what's the interesting thing, is that you end up with having millions of gamers that are playing a game they love, they're utilizing Web3 technology on Mythos chain, using Polkadot technology to make sure we can actually drive this up to a scale that's not seen before. It's really our biggest thing, is like looking at how many transactions can we do? If we have 20 million people playing the game at the same time next year at the World Cup, how do we make sure that they can trade items immediately on chain, and how can the chain actually handle that volume? So that's one of the things we're really looking at with the full team also from Parity, of figuring out how do we utilize all this scaling tech that Polkadot has and that Polkadot is really, really great at. We're looking at other chains, and I think other chains are sort of like we would take them out completely with the volume we have today. So we need to make sure that we have something that's fully scalable, can actually move to millions of gamers, and that they don't have to worry about that a blockchain game doesn't work or a blockchain game becomes slow. So that's really what we are seeing. Sort of like gaming is huge. It's like I remember hearing about the economics of gaming like 10, 15 years ago. It's like it's bigger than the music industry and the movie industry together. Gaming is massive, and Web3 really has a part to play here. you can really change the way that gamers are thinking and how gamers are interacting, and actually monetize that in a way that gamers doesn't have to understand the Web3 tech, but they can benefit from it and learn it that way. So I think it's really a way of how do you actually get a lot of gamers to adopt that and really embrace the change and the possibility they have with Web3. So yeah, with that, that's all I have to say. But hopefully you can all, if you haven't already, download FIFA Rivals, pre-register for a Pudgy Party. That one's going to be massive. Have a lot of talk with the Iglo team of how we can do that and have more fun with the Web3 communities as well. But really looking forward to the future of games on Polkadot and on the Metas.